Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group.
Welcome to Gridiron Central. There are 2 weeks left to go in the football season, and we still have 3 local teams alive and kicking in the playoffs. We're going to talk about all 3 of the state semifinal games our teams are involved with today. With me, as always, my tag team partner, Matt Davis from 95.7 The Ridge, who was the voice of high school football, now the voice of high school basketball along with that.
We're going to be starting our coverage of high school basketball along with the Roman East Tribune Holiday Festival basketball tournament here in a couple of weeks. And now we're doing a lot of Georgia Highlands basketball, very shorter, so we're definitely into the round ball right now for sure.
Gotcha. Matt's all about the round ball. I'm still all about that kind of oblong spheroid ball called the football. We'll start out with our first game Friday night. That's in the AA state semifinals. Our local team in the semifinals for the 5th consecutive season, of course, that is Calhoun. Lamar County is going to travel up to Calhoun. Quickly about Lamar, they are 12-0-1 on the season. They had the first game of the year was a tie against Spalding because they were out of region opponents or out of classification opponents. The 2 coaches decided before the game they would not go to overtime, that they would end it in a tie. Now, with the blemish on the record, Spalding's coach may wish that he had said overtime. Last week, Lamar beat Lovett 35-28. Key players for Lamar is the twins Lawrence and Lamar Alston. No, I think I have that wrong. Anyway, the Alston brothers are key players there. One of them was a quarterback, another one's kind of a dual threat receiver, running back, defensive back. Pretty good team. You know, most people in the state thinks Calhoun's going to win this game. Matt, what do you think?
I'm going to go along with most people on this one, and I think if you don't go along with that, you've kind of lost your brains, to be honest with you. And the thing is, man, talk about a team that is peaking at the right time. Yeah. One of the things we've talked about Calhoun is perhaps being their Achilles heel this year has been defensively. And the first few games, they played upper classified teams, and, they kind of struggled, gave up a lot of points. But in AA play, there has not been a single team score more than 14 points on them. Yeah. And so their defense has improved as the season's gone along. And if you want proof of that, well, then look what happened against Brooks County last week. They held them to 14 points, and it was a mercy killing. I mean, they absolutely wore Brooks County out, which surprised me. I'm sure it surprised you. It surprised everybody. I thought this was going to be, a duel of quarterbacks, this great matchup, and it turned out to be anything but. Taylor Lamb is the real deal. He is a tremendous quarterback. And in terms of AA football, I think that you could make a very valid argument he's the best. Yeah. And I think that he proves that week in, week out. So they got a lot of people's attention if they didn't already have it by beating Brooks County the way that they did in that game. Calhoun's the team to beat. And I think most of us have known that all along. And but, again, when you have a situation where you have a game that you think is going to be close and, the other team comes out and just blows the other team away, it really gets everybody's attention. So in this game for me, I'm not going to try to build any suspense. Calhoun wins this game hands down in my mind. They're playing at home. There's no reason to think they will lose this game. Yeah. And, I tell you what, they won the coin toss, gave them the chance to play at home. All these things matter. And the thing that matters the most is this team's ready to go. They're not going to let anything faze them at this point. And even though they killed Brooks County, don't think that's going to let them come out and be complacent in this game. Yeah. They're going to be prepared for this game. They're well coached. They've got all the key ingredients to win big football games, and they're going to do just that. I think they're going to win the state championship again, personally.
Yeah, and I'm not going to argue with too many of the things that Matt says there. Another note about Lamar County, this is their first semifinal appearance ever. However, their coach, Franklin Stevens, took Tucker to a state title in 2011. I was at the game last week against Brooks County, and I was actually on the Brooks County sidelines because it's easier for me to film over there than it is on the Calhoun sidelines because that sideline is just jam-packed. And I can't tell you the number of people along the fence that stopped me and said, what are you going to say on Wednesday about this game? What are you going to say on Wednesday about this game? Recognized me from Gridiron Central. And the first thing I was going to say is Brooks County made a huge mistake. A lot of people did not know this. I did not know this coming into the game, but they did one of those little YouTube mashup videos, we're going to hammer Calhoun. Ooh. And Calhoun found that. And all the little Brooks County fans showed up with their plastic hammers, and they were going nuts and all that. When it's 28-7, 35-7, they weren't going to hammer anybody. And the opposite thing was Calhoun beat them like a drum.
Hammering the nails in the
everybody can say, it was only 49-14. The last touchdown was a junk touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go against Calhoun's second team. Calhoun could have scored 70 in that game. It was one of the most perfect games I've ever seen Calhoun play. The day after Taylor Lamb is named Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Georgia, he goes out and shows Brooks County why. Brooks County's defense looked like a deer in headlights. Sorry, it's true. They could do nothing. I mean, it was 14-0 in the blink of an eye. Malcolm Parrish, great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but Calhoun knows how to shut down great players. Reference 2 years ago when they shut down eventual Georgia tailback. Of course, I don't know which directional school he's at now after the gun charges, Isaiah Crowell from Carver Columbus. Shut him down as well. Parrish, great team. It's one of those things. Calhoun played a perfect game. They did play that. Couple of notes on this game. It's at Calhoun. Big thing there. Calhoun is on a 28-game winning streak, a 14-game home playoff winning streak, a 39-game home winning streak, all games included. The last loss at home, I believe, was 2008 to Cartersville. Last week, of course, they butchered Brooks County, and I say butchered because they did. Actually, I should say hammered, to borrow Brooks County's terminology, 49-14. Taylor Lamb, Calhoun offense was unstoppable. The key in that game was the defense shut down what was a good team. Remember, Brooks County was undefeated coming into the game. They beat Valdosta, first AA team to ever beat Valdosta. Number 2 in the state. Everybody said the winner of that game should win the state championship game. I agree 100%. I don't think anybody in the state, me included, thought that was going to happen. I don't think Coach Lamb thought that was going to happen. Talking to him after the game, and he said, we thought it would be a lot closer than it was, and he praises coaches and he praises players, saying they played a phenomenal game, and that is probably the understatement of the season so far. As far as Lamar County goes, here's the deal. They've got to hope that Calhoun drops off a little bit, because if Calhoun plays like they did last week, there's nobody in AA that can beat them. I'm not so sure there's anybody in AAA that can beat them, maybe not even Quad A that can beat them. If Calhoun doesn't level off, if Calhoun just plays their game, offense gets rolling, shut down their opponents, Calhoun will win this game. I don't think it's going to be a running clock in the second half like it was against Brooks County, but I think Calhoun will win. And go ahead, Calhoun fans, Northwest Georgia fans, go ahead and book tickets to the Georgia Dome on Saturday, December 15th, because at 2:30, Calhoun's going to be playing for a second consecutive state championship, and it will be their 5th time in the Georgia Dome in 5 years.
I'm booking my tickets today.
It should be interesting. I think this could be a good game. All the computer rankings say Calhoun's going to win big, so Lamar County's got a big chip on its shoulders. They're not going to roll over and play dead, but I think Calhoun is too tough, especially at home this point in the season. Calhoun wins this game. After the commercial break, we'll go a bit further north and talk about Ridgeland as they play host to Marist in the Class 4A state semifinals.
Begin your future at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. We offer degrees, diplomas, and certificates in over 200 programs of study. Choose a career in business, health, industrial, or public service. With the flexibility of day, evening, and online classes at any of our 5 campus locations, getting your education at GNTC has never been more convenient. There are many financial aid options available, including student loans. Apply now. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your college, your town, your future.
Welcome back to the show. Talked about the AA state semifinal. We both think Calhoun's going to win. In fact, we think Calhoun might win easy. We'll see about that on Friday night. This next game, this one might have instant classic written all over it. Marist at Ridgeland. Marist is 12-1 this season. Their lone loss to Thomas County Central. Last week, Marist beat Stockbridge 15-7. Marist has a good offense and a great defense. Marist last week held Stockbridge to 33 yards rushing and 133 total yards. And of course, local fans will remember back in 2008, we had another Class 4A semifinal. Rome had to travel down to Marist. Rome owned Marist in that game. They beat them up. They did everything they needed to do. But unfortunately, Marist defense kept them in the ball game. Marist used the last 5 minutes of the game, drove the field, scored the controversial game-winning touchdown, knocking Rome out of a possible state championship matchup against Tucker. The Marist, that's what you're going to see again. They like to go up against very athletic teams that might make a few mistakes, much like Ridgeland. They're going to try to ball control the game, shut down Von Bell, shut down Bridges, see what happens. Matt, what do you think about it?
Ridgeland is having a magical season.
Oh, yes.
Let's face it, this has been a great year for them. The only loss they have was a last-second loss to Calhoun earlier in the season, well, at the beginning of the season, more or less. And so, otherwise, you've got an unblemished record. They have had a good year. They make it to the semifinals for the first time in team history. Yeah. This is awesome. This makes me think of something I saw in Lynn Honeycutt's office a couple of years ago when I was out at Model doing an interview with him. He's got a plaque that says, "The main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing." And it's very simple and direct, but it really is important in this game. And that really this game makes me think about that. Ridgeland, I think, can beat Marist, but they've got to be focused on this game. They can't be focused on last week's game, the fact that they won in the quarterfinals for the first time to make it to the semifinals with an opportunity to make it to a state championship. They have to focus on 100 yards on that field. They've got to play this football game to the best of their abilities and keep all that outside stuff out of their mind and keep their focus on playing the best football game they can play. If they do that, I think Ridgeland's got a great chance in this game. If they can't keep all that outside stuff that they're not used to having, around them, since they've never been to this situation before, if they can't do that, it's going to be a tough game for them to play in. But I think their coaching staff is going to have them ready for this game because they've been preparing for this game all season long. They played up against tougher competition probably than Marist and Calhoun earlier in the season. And, it's not been a real easy road to get here, but they've been a very established team throughout the season. And one of the things that I've said oftentimes about Ridgeland that I like is that when you mention Ridgeland in terms of offense, you have to mention more than one or two guys. There's several guys in the backfield that they can get it to. And so if they're able to shut one guy down, well, guess what? There's going to be somebody else there that they're going to have to contend with as well. And when you have that, you've got a recipe for some success. So to me, it's all about focus and doing what they can to be as diverse on offense as they can possibly be. And that way Marist has a hard time on defense figuring out what they need to do to stop them. So I'm going with Ridgeland this game. I think it is also a major benefit in any situation to be playing at home, but especially when you're in a new situation, to have that crowd support and to be in the friendly confines of your own field. All those things give you a certain comfort level that I think you need in a situation like this when you're playing in the semifinals for the first time. I'm going with Ridgeland. I think they're going to win. And hopefully they do, and hopefully Calhoun wins. Then we'll get to see back-to-back
in the Georgia
with,
Dome.
Teams from our region out there. So.
One thing I forgot to mention about Calhoun, if the winner of the Lamar County Calhoun game will play the winner of the Greater Atlanta Christian Jefferson game in the state finals. Back to Ridgeland, something Matt mentioned to me is key in this game is it's at home. Ridgeland is not an easy place to play. And when a team gets to a spot it's never been before, the crowd support is amazing. Calhoun's crowd support is phenomenal, but there are people at Ridgeland. Ridgeland's never, ever been this far. Not even close. They're one win away from playing for a state title when they'd never gotten past the second round of the state playoffs until this year. So you look at that and you say, wow. With it being at home, I think there are dozens upon dozens of Rome fans that would agree with me that had Rome played Marist at Barron Stadium back in 2008, Rome would have gone on to the state championship game. I fully believe that. I think most of the Rome fans will believe me. Ridgeland gets Marist at home. The key for Ridgeland, no turnovers, no stupid penalties, no boneheaded plays. You cannot do those against Marist. If you do that against Marist, you lose the football game. Marist is going to key off Darrell Bridges. They're going to try to keep him under 50 yards. They might be able to do that. As far as the rest of Ridgeland's offense, the key for Ridgeland, don't let Marist take control of the ball game because they're going to hit him in the mouth and try to control this football game defensively. Ridgeland needs to get out there and score some points. If Ridgeland can start putting some points on the board, Marist is going to be in trouble because if it gets into a track meet, Marist loses. Plain and simple. If Marist can keep Ridgeland under 20 points, Marist is going to win. The key for me here is 4 touchdowns. If Ridgeland can get to that 28 points, I think they're going to win the game. If Marist keeps it under 20, I don't like Ridgeland's chances. That being said, Ridgeland's a great team. And Marist did play some really tough competition at the beginning of the season. In fact, their early season schedule was tougher than Ridgeland's. I mean, they didn't play at Calhoun, but they played some really good teams, including Thomas County Central and some others that made the playoffs. So when it all comes down to being said, I come back to Matt. I come back to the fact that this is a magical season for the Panthers. They know what they have to do. They're at home. I say they're going to get to that magical 24, 28 points and go to the Georgia Dome. Of course, if the winner of this game will play the winner of the Monroe area Sandy Creek game in the Georgia Dome, that will be the 5:30 game on Saturday, December 15th. It will be immediately following the AA state championship game. So we do have a chance to have Calhoun and then Ridgeland back-to-back playing for state titles. Of course, the one note here, Sandy Creek is a prohibitive favorite to win Quad A this year. We'll see about that. They haven't played Ridgeland. Of course, Ridgeland's got to get there. Let's hope that magical run continues. Matt thinks Ridgeland's going to win. I think Ridgeland's going to win. We'll have to wait and see on Friday night. Another commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Purple Hurricanes in Class AAA and their chances to reach the Georgia Dome.
Begin your future at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. We offer degrees, diplomas, and certificates in over 200 programs of study. Choose a career in business, health, industrial, or public service. With the flexibility of day, evening, and online classes at any of our 5 campus locations, getting your education at GNTC has never been more convenient. There are many financial aid options available, including student loans. Apply now. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your college, your town, your future.
Welcome back to the show. We've talked about the AA semifinals with Calhoun and Lamar County. We've talked about the Quad A semifinal with Ridgeland and Marist, and now we're going to head over to Bartow County, where the Buford Wolves travel to play Cartersville. And, of course, everybody around this area knows when we start talking Buford, probably start quaking in your boots. They kind of own Calhoun in the state championship game 3 out of 4 years. Cartersville gets them in the semifinals. Cartersville at home. Of course, last week, Cartersville had the big game against Thompson, the number 1 ranked team in the state, beat them 21-13. First semifinal appearance for Cartersville since 2004. Of course, Buford is 10-3 on the season. 2 of those losses, go ahead and wipe them out. They were like 60-point wins that were wiped out because having to forfeit games for using an ineligible, I cannot speak today, an ineligible player. I may have to just point to you when I can't say a word. That being said, one of Buford's losses was to Gainesville. Of course, Gainesville is in the semifinals of 5A, if I remember correctly. Anyway, they're up there, a very good team. And, of course, Buford was playing Carver Columbus last week. Carver Columbus was the number 2 ranked team in AAA. Well, that didn't matter to the Wolves. 31-7 beat down the Carver Columbus took. Their season is over. Obviously, Buford's is not. Typical Buford team, Matt, can Cartersville pull another win?
Well, one of the things I will say that Cartersville has in their corner, they're playing at home. That is so huge here. But the only thing is, Buford has won the state championship, 7 times in the 2000s? And not only that, when they were in 6AA, which is a tough region in AA, they won that particular region almost every year they were there. I think there was only maybe 1 or 2 years where they didn't win it.
Love it beat them 1 year.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, this is a team that no matter where they play, they're used to these kind of situations. And to me, I think that gives them a better advantage than we're playing at home. You know what I'm saying? I think Cartersville will be competitive in this game, but it is very hard for me in any situation like this to pick against a perennial powerhouse like you have in Buford. This team has been here. They've done that. They've been successful at it. They know what they need to do to get what they need to do done. And Cartersville, they're coming into their own. Well, Buford's been there for a long time. And to me, I think Cartersville's got a shot in this game. Yeah. And I would not be surprised to hear that they ended up upsetting Buford, which I would consider this upset, despite the fact that Buford's lost a few games, 2 of them to forfeit, like you had mentioned. Yeah. So, but at the same time, I can't pick against Buford in this game. I just cannot do it. I got to go with Buford.
And this is a case. I mentioned in our last segment about the Marist game, and that Marist is a team that's going to come in that game and try to bend Ridgeland to their will. Buford is going to force Cartersville to their will, no doubt about it. That's how they win football games. They play their brand of football, and the point of the matter is Buford wins so many games because, the other team makes mistakes. And when I look at this Cartersville team, the one thing about Cartersville, number one, and I've been with Cartersville from the very beginning, I said this was a team that had a great chance to do great things. I'm not so sure I thought they would go all the way to the semis, but I felt like they were a team that could definitely make the quarters. They haven't lost this year. They've gotten progressively better as the season goes on. A very solid offense, a solid defense, solid special teams. Because they're solid across all three facets there, they can beat Buford. If they make mistakes, they'll lose. And the whole thing is, that Coach Barden and his staff is going to be ready for this game. I'm sure they were at the Georgia Dome or watched video of Calhoun, Buford the last 3 or 4 years. I'm sure they've seen video of Buford. And when you see Buford, it's the same thing over and over again. They're going to run the ball at you. They're going to run the short passes. They'll throw in a couple of trick plays here and there. But they're pretty much, Buford's offensive coordinator can tell you, hey, this is the play we're running. And lots of times teams still can't stop it. That being said, the game is at Cartersville. Cartersville fans will show up. Buford fans haven't really traveled that well the past couple of years. In fact, at the Dome last year, I think Buford took for granted they were going to win the game. Calhoun, I think the entire town of Calhoun showed up at the Dome, and only about half of what I would normally see from Buford showed up. I think they thought they were going to win without a problem. That didn't happen. I think Cartersville, people are going to be hanging from the rafters there. Cartersville has been hungry for this. Every time I pick against Buford, except maybe last year. I can't remember if I picked Buford or Calhoun in the finals last year. I'm sure Calhoun fans will say I picked Buford, but who knows? I'd have to go back to the tape to see that one. This is one, every time I pick against Buford, I think I'm wrong. I love this Cartersville team. I think they've done a phenomenal job. It's at Cartersville. You know what? You can't make a living picking against Buford, but this is going to be one of those times I am. I'm going to take the Purple Hurricanes. Something about it and something about that Buford mystique. I'm not saying that Buford mystique is gone, but Calhoun put a dent in it last year because, even when Buford came back when they shouldn't have and scored 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes, Calhoun still found a way to win. Gainesville beat them early in the year. Of course, Buford usually has that one loss early in the season or have over the past 4 or 5 years against a really good team. They're going to be ready. I just say, Cartersville, it's been a long time since Cartersville's been to the Dome, and I really believe that they want to get back, as does Buford. But I'm going to go with Cartersville in this one. I may be wrong, but I just like them playing at home. The winner of this game is going to play the winner of North Hall St. Pius. The computer projections say that the winner of this game is the odds-on favorite to win the AAA state title. Of course, the AAA state championship game Friday, December 14th. Kickoff slated for 5:30 p.m. at the Georgia Dome. Of course, all state championship games are at the Dome. Depending on how this Friday goes, we could have a very, very busy week or weekend next week with possibly 3 local teams in the Dome. Of course, we'll be filming all Friday night. Come to PrepCentralOnline.com. We'll have live scoring updates from all 3 of these games. Later in the evening, we'll have video highlights of all 3 of these games as well. And, of course, next week on Wednesday, win or lose, we will have Gridiron Central. Hopefully, It will be the Dome preview show instead of this season wrap-up show. We stay alive. We stay around as long as our teams are alive. 2 possible games left. We're awfully close. We'll see what happens. We're predicting a whole bunch of our teams are going to go to the Dome. It could be a very interesting Friday and Saturday, December 14th and 15th, if that does happen. For Matt Davis, Kevin Myrick, and Austin Wiggins, we'll see you on the sidelines on Friday night for the state semifinal games.
Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group,